Hey everybody, welcome to Outplanet Studios. I figured we'd drop it back to one of the older reboot Battlefronts. Just to mix it up a little bit, I wanted to talk a little bit today about the new Battlefront that is releasing. Battlefront, well, I should specify, they are re-releasing the original two Battlefronts on modern consoles and PCs in the Battlefront Classic Collection. Pretty awesome. This is going to be bundling Battlefront, the original, which came out in 2004, and Battlefront 2, which came out in 2005. Some of the best Star Wars games ever released, if not the best. If you guys haven't played those, definitely, if you have them already, definitely pick them up or try it out when the collection comes out. But yeah, they're going to be awesome. I did want to talk a little bit about what this means for Disney and EA, all these. I honestly don't really know what the state of exclusivity rights is. I'm pretty sure EA doesn't have exclusivity anymore because Ubisoft is making their Outcasts? Not Outcasts, what's it called? Outlaws. It might be coming out later this year, I don't really know. If you guys have any information about that, let me know down in the comments section. I'm sure everybody would love to see it. Honestly, yeah, so the new ones that are coming out are obviously great news. Everybody loves those games. But what does that mean going forward then? Because they've made it pretty clear that they don't want to release a Battlefront 3, which is just mind-numbingly stupid on Disney's or EA or whoever does its part. Yeah, it's very frustrating, you know, because I feel like they are moving in the right direction from this game, which didn't have a campaign, into the second one that did have a campaign, but the story was just a complete lie. But at least it had a campaign, you know. Like I feel like there's something that they could really do really cool. Like if they did like a purely Clone Wars related game. You know, because like even the original Battlefront 2 was split between the little bit of the Clone Wars, but mostly the Imperial era, following the 501st, if you guys didn't know that already. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like they could do a lot with that. You know, they could do... You know, they could... I mean, Disney seems to get off on the fact that every single one of their properties has something to do with the Purge era, which they could do that. They could do a squad of clone troopers that becomes a squad of like Purge troopers or something like that. You're playing as an airborne squad of clone troopers in the Clone Wars, and they get inducted into the Purge Trooper Corps or something like that. You know, sounds really cool. And you can get to hunt Jedi and stuff like that. It'd be really awesome. You know, or they could do, honestly, a modern canon retelling of the original Battlefront 2 story. You know, where they have the 501st throughout the Clone Wars, and then through the Jedi Purge, and then into the Imperial era. They could do that again. Kind of show off what they've done with characters in the Clone Wars show. Show some of those battles, and then Order 66, and then into the Purge era, and then see how those troopers lived or died or whatever in the Empire. That would be really awesome. Hell, they could even do a show of that. That would be amazing. Which I guess they're kind of doing that with Bad Batch, but are you kidding me? Like, that show's terrible. You know, there's a couple of good episodes. You know, the stuff that they're focusing on, like Crosshair and Cody, and you know, stuff that they're actually progressing with the story and showing the overall like turn to the Empire is really good. But then they spent all of season 2 on that stupid island doing worthless episodes, you know, just to get people to subscribe to Disney Plus. You know, like, they have no interest in telling good stories. They have no interest in furthering the canon or anything like that. They're just screwing around with the story, just giving us just enough as nostalgia and decent, like, name drops or whatever, character drops, that will just keep buying Disney Plus. That's all they do. You know, and that's why I am nervous, you know, about the new Battlefronts, you know, because I'm sure it'll be great. I'm sure it'll be pretty much just carbon copies of the original. We're going to have a great time. But it just showed, like, the hype behind that last week. I'm recording this at the end of February right now. I got more views on my Battlefront content than I ever have when that announcement came out. You know? I never get that with other Star Wars stuff. Like, I've played pretty much all of the Star Wars games at this point on the channel. No traction whatsoever for the new stuff. Like, people liked Fallen Order a little bit, and everybody forgot. You know? People liked Battlefront, this one, you know, and then the second one, and then they dropped support, and everybody forgot about them. Nobody cares. You know? But as soon as an announcement comes out for the old Battlefronts getting re-released, suddenly everything's crazy, which is awesome, and a lot of new viewers here because of that. And thank you guys for subscribing and doing everything you guys do. You know, but modern Star Wars stuff does not have that draw, and they know that, and that's why they're releasing the old Battlefronts now. And honestly, it's just frustrating, you know, because there are so many stories that they could turn into games, you know, but they're wasting all of their time on stupid side quest stuff like Outlaws. Or, you know, in Jedi Fallen Order and, what's the sequel called? We're doing it right now. Jedi Survivor. Cool stories, you know, but, you know, why can't we have more than just that? That's one studio doing that. And then they're wasting time on Outlaws. And everything they're doing is trying to bridge the original movies with the terrible sequels that everybody hated. You know, that's all. Does anybody remember the Squadrons game? No? Yeah, I didn't think so. Because all that was trying to bridge the gap between that's the new Battlefront 2's campaign as well. All that existed to do was to tell some mediocre stories from the Purge era into the Empire, and then use crappy DLC to bridge to the sequels that nobody liked. And now they've completely abandoned the sequels. They're not doing anything with those anymore. Oof, that guy got wrecked. You know, all of the Legos, like the Lego sets and everything, they've completely abandoned the sequels. They're only doing a tiny bit of Clone Wars and original trilogy stuff. They don't even talk about the sequels anymore, except for when Kathleen Kennedy comes out and starts screeching about, you know, women in Star Wars and all that crap. You know, we've had strong female characters since literally the first movie of Star Wars. We don't need your interpretation of, you know, of women in Star Wars. Like Rey. Terrible character. Nobody disputes that. But they're trying to make a Rey movie now, where Kylo Ren's Force Ghost knocks her up, and she has a daughter who's then the next leader of the Star Wars story. I'm not sure if I really need to explain why that's stupid, or why that doesn't fit with the universe. You know, it's not just Star Wars. Halo has just practically just done itself in at this point. Infinite was awful. And they've completely dropped support for anything for story for Halo. The books, like the only book that came out this last year, if I remember correctly, was just a novelization form of all of the audio logs from Halo Infinite. that sucked even on their own. Like, why would we want a book of that? Why was that? And they announced it like 8 months out to get everybody hyped up for it, and it was like, nope, this is just a novelization of all the audio logs that no one bothered looking for because it was just a stupid, fake open world game. You know, where if you get in a Banshee, you can't just fly across it. There's just invisible barriers between each section. But everybody forgot about the campaign. And as soon as, and I'm sure I'll get lit up for this, as soon as you mention how bad the campaign is, everybody screeches about it. And it's like, oh, the Halo Infinite was amazing. I'm like, okay, you played 30 minutes of multiplayer and somehow did not have a game-breaking glitch, and you think the game is fixed, and that the series is fixed, and it's all good and dandy. Like, what about where we were at, 10 years ago? I guess 2024 right now. Halo 4 came out 12 years ago. That was the last fully functional Halo game that we had. Halo 5 came out between now and then. There we go. Halo 5 came out between now and then, and it was just the runner-up for Halo Infinite's problems, There was no split screen. There was broken multiplayer. They didn't have half of the maps or features on launch. And the campaign went nowhere. It was just trash. And no one disputes that. Everybody says Halo 5 was terrible. Halo 4 was terrible. And like, Halo 4 at least had a cohesive storyline. One that actually seemed to fit with the original games, but everybody started screeching about how the art style wasn't what they wanted, and the studio caved to that. Like, what? And this goes for Star Wars and Halo and everything. It's like, what happened to writing a story and making a game of that story? Why is the game the first part of that? Or this goes for books and movies too. It's like, why don't you, in the sequels, why don't you write the story and then adapt that into movies? Why are you writing the story to fit the movie and then crying when everybody doesn't like it and changing everything? And along those lines, like for the Star Wars sequels, like, why are you having somebody write and direct the first one? Episode 7. And then not bringing him back. You're like, oh, we need a different voice for this. And you bring in Rian Johnson, one of the most overrated directors of all time. I mean, he doesn't even like Star Wars from the first place. He wants to subvert everybody's expectations of what a Star Wars movie can be. That should have been a red flag. There should have been a lot of red flags with that guy. And then he releases the second story, or the second piece of the story that had nothing to do with the first one, And then he kills off the main villain. Like, what kind of a story writer are you? Where you kill off the main villain in the second chapter? Like, how bad can you be at this where you're doing that? And then when they're like, oh, everybody didn't like that. I wonder why. We're going to bring J.J. Abrams back. Who J.J. Abrams is notorious for not being able to finish the story. And then the start of the story, I think the only opportunity he had, they wrecked when they brought in Rian Johnson. They killed off the main bad guy. They started some weird love story thing with the two main characters. Completely disregarded the last couple of or the other couple of side characters that could have had a good storyline, like Finn and Poe. And then brought Palpatine back. It's like, honestly, what else was he supposed to do? It's like somehow Palpatine returned. I'm like, yeah. Everybody else was dead, they might as well. Anyway, I'm rambling a little bit here, if you can't tell. Bringing it back to these games and what I was wanting to talk about with Battlefront. This makes me nervous, you know, because I know what they're doing. They're just... The Star Wars hype is at a low, so they're like, oh, we need to bring back something nostalgic. Get everybody all hyped up again just to ram the next Mandalorian piece of crap down everyone's throats. You know, it's like... It's awesome that they're re-releasing the games, you know, but we're never going to see a great Star Wars game again. And we're never going to see a Jedi Academy or a Battlefront 1 and 2 or Republic Commando or something like that. We're never going to see that again. We'll get pieces of them. Drip-fed through DLCs and paid post-paid content, I would like to call it. Where you pay $70 for a game that's broken and is only a, you know, 3/4 of a game, and then the rest of it is drip fed to you in $20 chunks that also doesn't work, and then they drop dev support for it like the instant the last one's out. Not even to mention all the microtransactions in the middle of that. I don't know. I'm just so sick and tired of these franchises.
Scanners are picking up the location of another pod.
A lot of people have told me to get into indie games, indie sci-fi and everything, and I'm like, okay. Tried a couple of games, you know, but there's really only so many retro-style pixel art games you can play. And that's what 90% of what do you call it? Indie games are. Like, the only good sci-fi you get these days is in books. Like, I recently got into the Warhammer series, which, again, another huge franchise, but I have my problems with that as well. But at least the books are cohesive enough, and they're not ramming gay relationships down everybody's throats like the Star Wars and Halo stuff is. Not so much the Halo stuff. Star Wars, I noticed this back in like 2015, but like every single Star Wars book that releases under Disney has to have at least one chapter that is entirely describing, the entire purpose of it is to describe the main or side character's gay relationship or gay tendencies. I'm sorry. I follow your franchise for sci-fi content and good storytelling. I could not care less who my character wants to bang on his day off. I'm so sick and tired of that. Like, I want to follow something where the characters are compelling and actually tell good stories and are, you know, somewhat upstanding, or on the very least are, you know, interesting to read about and, you know, follow what they do and everything in the universe that I like and enjoy. I do not care about the sexual preferences of Darth Vader or Lando Calrissian. And that's half of what the Solo story was, too. They kept telling us that Lando was stinking pansexual. I'm like, I don't care. Remove that droid from the movie and it would have been half decent. Halo's a little bit better about that. It's not, as far as I've been able to tell, it's kind of hard to tell with Warhammer because there's like 300 or 400 books. I've read probably 10 of them so far, but so far that I've seen, they haven't had that stuff in there. We'll see. Halo doesn't seem to be doing it much, but then again, they're not really doing anything, so, you know, there's that. But Star Wars is really just a shame. You know, it's just a disaster for what it used to be. It's all because of Disney. Where is this guy? There's still another foot soldier too. Anyway, yeah, so the Battlefront games, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be good for the YouTube channel and everything, but what good is it going to do? It's just the exact same games that I play on here already. I need to move. Warhammer has been pretty good so far. I've really enjoyed the books that I've read so far. I've read the Dark Imperium trilogy. I guess I haven't really read as much as I thought I did. I have a bunch more than I've read so far, but I'm just finishing up Volpone Glory. Really good book, a little rushed in the end, but it's been pretty good. I don't know, my problem with it is just so much. It just feels like I'm having to learn like a whole new sci-fi every time I start a book. You know, which is a little bit taxing, but it's, I mean, they're good. The books are good at least.
Remain vigilant. The enemy is preparing another assault.
Another part too with Warhammer is it's getting to the point where it's big enough that there's not really a cohesive story to it. And I guess that it wasn't really designed that way in the first place, but the thing I really like about the Halo books and everything is that everything just kind of fits together. There's a timeline you can figure out. It's there in Star Wars, but it's just always been kind of disorganized, I guess. But yeah, it's just a chaotic mess with Warhammer, but you know, that one at least makes sense because it's first and foremost a tabletop game. I'm so tired of modern sci-fi, just in general. It's not just sci-fi, like every field, everything. Writers have just gone down the stinking tubes. They're just awful these days. So what other sci-fis have come out lately? You know, you get Starfield, which I don't know how anybody didn't expect that was gonna be terrible. It's Bethesda. Their latest and greatest hits have been, you know, Fallout 76. You know, like, you should have seen that one coming a mile away. I've heard Helldivers 2 has been really good. I might try checking that one out here pretty soon, actually.
Our forces are capturing the escape pod.
Honestly, that one's just painful in its own way, too. Like, what Halo could have been. Yeah, that's another thing too, is like I was talking about what Star Wars could do with its games. And, you know, I didn't even scratch the surface of the stuff that they could do with their games. Like, they haven't even tried. But Halo? soon as Helldivers 2 came out, one of the original like devs or whatever from Halo Infinite or Halo 5, one of those, someone in 343, he was saying that he and some others had pitched 20 to 30 Halo game ideas to Microsoft 343. You know, everything from, you know, dark strategy, everything, you know, and they said no to every single one of them. Instead, releasing Infinite and Halo 5, the biggest disappointments in that franchise that have ever come out. So let's see what other ideas could Halo do with its games. They could do a horror game with their Flood, you know, the one that everybody says. They could do. I heard Mint Blitz a couple of weeks ago for you guys, but today actually for me, for when this was recorded, Mint Blitz was suggesting like a Halo Wars kind of storyline, but like first-person shooter, so you could play as Red Team. That would be awesome. Let's see what else we could do. We could do more strategy games. We could do more mainline games, obviously. You could do another ODST game. You know, you could do... Heck, you could do even smaller ones. You could do an extraction shooter with Flood stuff. How does that ATST move so stinking fast? What else could they do? They could go back in the storyline. Could do another game from Reach. They could do... I mean, the first game, and pretty much most of the franchise came out placed in 2552. Human Covenant War started in 2526. The amount of time and battles and everything that they could do. They could do a fleet battles game. Oh my gosh, that would be cool. Like fighting the Covenant or playing as the Covenant or whatever you want to do. Like you could do that as a game. Star Trek has done that. And that is the worst managed franchise I've ever seen. You know, the amount of stuff that they could do with that. Heck, even if they just ripped Empire at War and just made a Halo version of it, which I'm sure there's a mod for that out there, but if they made like an official game like that, that would be massive. But no, they're not going to do that. No, they gotta make sure that they squeeze all of their $70 price tags and microtransactions into it. Gotten so many of those proximity bombs. Ooh, did I get him? Staggered him. Because that active camo's better than it looks. I love that grenade. There we go.
Defensive positions. They're coming in again.
I don't know. Some people in the comments back in the day have told me that I'm just
Imperial
looking at it through rose-colored glasses, you know, or they're looking at it through just nostalgia, you know, about how the good games were. This stuff was good in the past. You know, I don't know. I grew up. My first introduction to Star Wars was the 2002 Star Wars: The Clone Wars game. That was how I first found Star Wars. That was a good game. You know, it had a solid campaign that was well written, gameplay mechanics that were functional as intended. It had split screen, it had multiplayer, it had everything. It actually made me want to check out the rest of the series and the rest of the franchise and everything, the IP. Games like this one that have no campaign assume that you know what the rest of Star Wars is. There's nothing intriguing about it. This is just a cloned multiplayer mode from Battlefield. That is all this is. That's all this is.
Scanners picking up an ATST. Look for an ATST.
It's all Halo Infinite is now, too. Nothing open yet? No.
Their next wave has arrived.
Anyway, we're kind of coming to the end of this. I don't know. I was just getting kind of frustrated with this kind of stuff. Still am. It won't go away. You know. Things were so much better 15 years ago. Companies like Microsoft and 343 and Disney have ruined everything that's good. Sure, somebody in the comments will be pissed off at me that I'm not ultra excited about the Battlefront things. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited, but I play those games almost every day for the channel. I don't need to buy the Classic Collection. I have both of those games on Xbox and on PC. They're doing the same thing that Bethesda does. Like every time they release the 45th edition of Skyrim or something like that, they're just re-releasing old games that most of everybody has already. Like the only good thing about this is that PS5 or the modern PlayStation people can finally play both versions, you know, and have all the DLC and everything like that from the old days. That's it. Xbox players, they have both games on the store already. They have for years. PC has had it on all of their stores for years. What's the point? I think that ATST's lost. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching this video. not a whole lot of you are left, I would imagine. But yeah, so thanks for watching. If you enjoy, leave a like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Any comments on whatever I've been talking about too. Yeah. We have a Discord. Links down in the description. Give a little bit of... It's a few sneak peeks. We got a little bit of a community building over there. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.